everyone. I want to share a quote with you. It is something that we're exploring in our membership, the Explorers Club. Every 2 months, we focus on kind of a different area. And then, of course, our conversations just go where they go. But it is nearing the end of February 2024, and we have spent a couple months exploring the topic of creativity. So here's a quote that I shared in the group that I thought would be really cool to share with you also. So it's from Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. And she writes a letter to fear. Dearest fear, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip together. I understand you'll be joining us because you always do. I acknowledge that you believe you have an important job to do in my life and that you take your job seriously. Apparently, your job is to induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting. And, may I say, you are superb at your job. So, by all means, keep doing your job if you feel you must. But I will also be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused. And creativity will be doing its job, which is to remain stimulating and inspiring. There's plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us, so make yourself at home. But understand this. Creativity and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions along the way. I recognize and respect that you are part of this family, and so I will never exclude you from our activities, but still, your suggestions will never be followed. You're allowed to have a seat, and you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You're not allowed to touch the road maps. You're not allowed to suggest detours. You're not allowed to fiddle with the temperature. Dude, you're not even allowed to touch the radio. But above all else, my dear old familiar friend, you are absolutely forbidden to drive. I love that. And we had a chuckle in our membership about that. And it really is. It's a great little story. It's a great little metaphor for fear as we are in the creative process or up to anything in our lives. Yeah, there's a soul tug. There's a sense of being in the flow of life, and creative actions are happening and we're doing, and then thought pops up. Some sort of thought that, causes a feeling, a sensation of fear in us. And our tendency is to fix it or even make that fear, that feeling, fear, mean something. And it isn't a thing, by the way. Thought, our ability to think, results in, directly related to the type of thinking or the content of our thinking, is going to be a sensation in the body. And that's what fear is. It's just an emotion. It's an energy in the body, and it originates from some sort of thought. But fear looks like a real thing. It looks like something that we should give importance to. It looks like, well, I'm about to try this new creative venture, or I'm about to make an investment in my business. I'm about to ask someone out on a date. And fear pops up, which is a thought and a feeling. And we give it attention because we think we're supposed to. And also, it can look very real. Like the suggestions, the idea that fear, the fearful type thinking is presenting to us look like something we should really pay attention to. And I'm not talking about clear and present danger, fear that there's a guy pounding on the door and I'm looking out the window and, yeah, he actually has a gun in his hand. I'm afraid. call 911. You know what I'm talking about. Fear can be there. It doesn't need fixing. It doesn't need investigation. We don't have to push it away, and we can still act. We can still stay in the flow, and we can allow that feeling to be present. Because the more we do that with any feeling, with any emotion, the more it's likely to just change. The energy changes, it moves through. And yeah, there are times, I think, too, when an investigation is warranted. But for me and for the women and the other, well, we have women. We have only women in the membership, the Explorers Club right now. Everyone else's experience with being in a creative flow and the voice of and the feeling of fear coming up, the best way of being with that everyone has experienced as they've played with it is just to let it be there. It doesn't mean anything. It's kind of inconsequential. We probably wish it wasn't there, but the more that we can see what it is and actually what it isn't, then it is pretty easy to just, dismiss it, yeah, but sometimes it's just, it really is coming from the voice of the ego, from this separate self, this identity, trying to keep us safe and secure us. And once we see that feeling, that thing that we've made look real, that we're labeling as fear, once we see it for what it is, it loses its significance, it loses its importance. So you might want to play with that. If nothing else, just an understanding of what fear is and what it isn't, I think that'll be very, very helpful for you. So if you're in a creative flow, if you're about to engage in something new and exciting, and a feeling arises in you that you are identifying as fear, realize it's an energy moving in your body, and that it most likely has nothing to do, nothing to offer. It can ride in the back seat on your journey to whatever it is that you're up to. It can be present. It can talk if it wants to, and it doesn't have to be a big problem. It's a part of being human, right? And like Elizabeth Gilbert says, it's like a welcome part of the family. But it doesn't, its job is not to grab the steering wheel or tell us that we should go in another direction. So if you see something around that, I'd love it if you share it with me.